Happy late Saturday afternoon, early Saturday evening. Happy to have you here tonight. The Kings kick off one of two in Houston. They look to bounce back from that loss in Golden State. We've got you all covered for the Kings and the Rockets here on the pregame show. We'll get to it in just a second. Looking forward to it. Get your comments in. Let's kind of digest and talk about what happened the other night and talk about tonight and what we're looking forward to and what we can expect from your Sacramento Kings. I'm Ryan in Sacktown. This is the pregame show on If You Don't Like That.
3, 2, 1, go.
Sacramento miscue. Carter, stolen by Williams. And look at this. Oh, you don't like that. You don't like NBA basketball. Fox, goodbye. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball. The exclamation point from De'Aaron Fox. Oh, if you don't like that, you don't like NBA basketball.
Boy, that's an ESPN highlight right there. Whoa. Carlson comes in. How about this? Holy moly, Jim Bob Bowley. That is a major league smush.
Yes, indeed, Matthew. Let's go. I love it. Let's go. Kings basketball on a Saturday night. Nothing better. Happy to get them back on the floor after the performance in Golden State. Garrison getting in early. Hello. The positive I take away from the Warriors game is Fox was not playing and they hung in with the Warriors full strength and had a good chance to win. Yeah, we can take it a little bit further. I mean, they did what they needed to do a different way. We talked about that on the pregame show. They did it defensively, which was a surprise. But then on the flip side, it's like, okay, if the Kings are going to be that 50-win team that are going to, win a first-round series or even further, go further than that, they've got to be able to find ways to win those games down the wire because I think they're going to be in a lot of them. Look at the West this year. It is really deep at this point, and there's some teams that we did not expect to be up there in the standings, like the Mavericks, for instance. So we can get into that a little bit more. Rich, yes, indeed. Hello from Aztec country. How you doing, my Aztec brother? I bet the weather down there is spectacular right now. So hope you are enjoying the Rays. Haunted Horse, who is responsible for the opening this season. We really appreciate that from him. This Wednesday is going to be a good game. Yeah, he's looking ahead on the schedule when the Kings play Portland. You guys are on a little run, Haunted Horse. You guys got a 2-game winning streak going? Might be the longest of the season by the time it's all said and done. Could be. Garrison hopping in again. I wasn't able to watch the game, so that is what I took away from it. Yeah, and you know what, Garrison? You didn't have to watch the game to take that away, really. If you look at the box score, it's kind of what it was. I mean, it's easy to pick apart when you look at it that way. Hey, I got a question for you guys. Are you having trouble looking at me on the TV or the screen or whatever device you're using right now? Because I'm sure as heck having trouble looking at stuff after those NBA tourney courts last night. Did you guys get a taste of those? Those things need to come with a seizure warning. They are so hideous. If I am a player playing in that game, I don't even know if I can take it serious. I mean, that was rough. So I'd love to get your guys' take on that. Yeah. 3-game winning streak. We'll see. Haunted Horse. Did they get a third game yesterday? Maybe. I did not check. Is Grant off the weekends? No, Grant and Jerry. Thanks for transitioning me there, Waggis. Will be there. What's up, Wags? How you doing, man? Grant and Jerry Reynolds will be here at halftime, breaking down the first half, and then Grant and I will wrap up the game afterwards. So get your comments in. Let's talk about this. This is a Rockets team that could cause some trouble for the Sacramento Kings. The Rockets, really, if you look at them as a whole, they're not a great team, but they just got their first win the other night. But they've got some pieces that play physical. And that's going to be something the Kings are going to have an answer to, especially on the perimeter. I'm not so much worried about Davion Mitchell playing physical. I think we've seen that's his brand of basketball. And then also the guys coming off the bench, Colby Jones, I think that he doesn't mind being a little bit physical as well. But they're going to have to bring it. You're talking about guys like Jeff Green. You're talking about Fred VanVleet. That's going to be a hell of a matchup. VanVleet and Davion, VanVleet, Monk. You're also talking about Dillon Brooks. Dillon Brooks. Who wanted Dillon Brooks? Of course, the Rockets picked him up in the offseason. He's a blessing and a curse at times for that team. If he gets hot, he can knock a few down, but when he's not playing well, that's when you got to get in his head and get him frustrated. But one thing you do know, regardless of how he's playing, it's going to be physical. So, let's get to what Sea-Dog's saying. Fox is still out tonight. Regardless of him getting his jersey retired at his high school in Houston. That was pretty cool. But he will be taking it out tonight, which is not a big surprise considering the sprained ankle. And then Trey Lyles. Now, that's the one we still need to keep our eye on. The Kings issued a statement talking about there's been multiple images on that calf injury. Also talking about when it happened. That was kind of news to me because I think we were all kind of wondering, well, did it happen in a preseason game, preseason warmups? Was it training camp? But it did happen in one of the preseason games. But, he has not played yet this season. He is a very important piece to what the Kings do, especially if the Kings want to play small at the 5. And a lot of people wondering, Sea-Dog specifically had brought this up about how Trey Lyles returning to the lineup affects Sasha's minutes. So all that will be told once he comes back. But I do know, I think Mike Brown's missing that option to bring off the bench. So, and this was the next guy I was going to get to. I really, I'm telling you, if you have not seen Sengun play, this kid is very talented. He is talented for a big man. I'm not going to call him Sabonis, definitely not going to call him Joker, but he is like the Shasta Cola Sabonis. Let's put it that way, like kind of the knockoff. He passes the ball really well. He's long, so that's going to be a fun matchup. And one thing's for sure, Sabonis cannot get in foul trouble tonight with that one because JaVale McGee will have a hard time trying to guard Sengun, and you might even see some Alex Len at that point. Mike Dizzle, he says, Ryno, you're much better looking than the tourney courts. Yes, thank you. Yeah, I would hope so, Mike. Those things, man. And we didn't even see every team play. I know I've seen the Kings. I don't think theirs is that bright. But you looked at, what was the Denver court last night? That one was really, really bright. The Heat court, that one was really bright. I don't know. It takes away from the game. Why does the NBA constantly have to do things that take away from the game? And I get they're trying to make it better. They're trying to make it flashy. They're trying to make it seem different or a big deal because they've got their own courts for this tournament. For me, if I'm an old school guy that watched basketball my entire life and I'm more, just give me the basketball, I'm not liking those courts whatsoever. So anyways, and Sea-Dog just said what I kind of said. You got to be excited for this matchup. The confidence, it can go both ways. The Rockets, they will give you fits. They will hang in there. They've played teams tough this year. They've taken San Antonio to overtime. San Antonio, who's actually been a little bit of a surprise. So when you look at the Rockets' record, I don't think it's really indicative of the basketball that they have played all season. But if you take them lightly, they're going to catch you. They really will. So that's why the Kings got to come out. And I don't know about you guys. I'd love to get your thoughts on this. Do you think the Kings are capable of having back-to-back defensive performances 2 nights in a row? I'm just not sure if you're going to see that same team. Now, if you don't see that same level of defense, what's that mean for the Kings' chances of winning? Because the offense, clearly, we talked about in the pregame show, before the Golden State Warriors game, where like somebody else has to step up, right? The scoring has to come from somewhere. And Davion Mitchell, he came out a little bit hot from beyond the 3-point line, then cooled off as the game went along. But, you go past Davion, and I'll give you this. All 5 King starters were in double digits. So I think that's the first time it had happened all year so far this season. But you need more from guys. We didn't get enough from Keegan Murray. I mean, you didn't get enough from Harrison Barnes. And I thought Jerry Reynolds made an excellent point on the halftime show, talking about how Keegan was not taking Keegan shots. And, the counter to that is, well, everybody is saying Keegan needs to do more than be a spot shooter. He needs to get to the hoop, needs to be aggressive. He can do all those things, but still be balanced. And I think his base is so important, especially because of the way he thrives when he spot shoots. So look for that. And I mean, it's a delicate balance with Mike Brown in your ear all the time, shoot. But I don't think that's something that's exclusive to Keegan. That's something that's kind of across the board for those guys. I mean, short of being a JaVale McGee and Alex Len, a lot of those guys have the green light. They want to play at that very, very high pace. So I don't know if I make as much of that as some people are, that maybe it's in Keegan's head. He's being asked to play a different way. He's a professional. He can play any style within the system that he's in. And I think that he'll be all right tonight. I think you're going to see a more aggressive Keegan Murray tonight. That's for sure. Ash, it did look like Euroball. It did for sure. The Kings court has a weird little feature like that with the key. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen that online, but that is something besides being hideous that jumped to my mind as well. So glad you put that out. Yeah, they'll be at home. Exactly. Sasha will be right at home with that court. Come on, Oris. Think Nickelodeon NFL games. Oh, you guys are trying to explain it. I thought the Toy Story game on Nickelodeon was actually pretty fun. I did not have a problem with that. Not as much as I have a problem with these courts. So I'm sure Grant's going to have a nice little rant or two about those courts once we get rolling later tonight. I think we'll get a shootout into the 130s tonight. The only way we get a shootout into the 130s is if it's a multiple overtime game. I could see the Kings getting into the 130s if they blow the Rockets out. But past those two circumstances, I'm not so sure. The Rockets, again, very bipolar, but they can fill it up at times. You've got Sagoon averaging 19.3. You've got Jeff Green, 19. You've got Van Vliet at 17. 17's a little low. I know he had 22 the other night, and Dylan Brooks had 23. Go figure. Leading scorer. And then, beyond that, you got Jabari Smith Jr., 12.8. So they're balanced with their starters, but they really don't have much of a bench. And I think the Kings certainly have a clear advantage there, even with De'Aaron Fox out. Hey, 4 a.m. in Serbia. Salute. It's Dobro Utro, I think it is what it is. So how's it going? Thank you so much for being here so early. We really appreciate it. And yes, if this is your first time on the stream, please give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please subscribe. We will have a ton of Kings coverage for you, beginning with this show tonight. And then right after this, when halftime hits, Jerry Reynolds and Grant Napier will be here talking about the game at the half. And then Grant and I will wrap things up at the end of the night. So let's see. Yeah, Cody, he's crafty. He is. Yeah, the word that comes to mind for me is slippery. I feel like he's just one of those guys that you just can't get a guard on. And when you look at him in the post, when he does go down there, he is really smart about making the right play. If the defender's playing high, then he's going to drop down low and vice versa. So, and he's always got his head on a swivel. He knows where his guys are at. Dobro Jutro. Thank you. Appreciate that. Go Kings. What's up, Carf? Thanks for joining in, buddy. Let's get this winning streak started tonight. They've got to. You've got to get these two in Houston, in my opinion. And then you've got to get the next one against. That one's going to be at home with the Trailblazers. That's got to be 3 in a row. Especially with De'Aaron Fox out. We ran down the schedule before. I will pull that up again really quick here in a second. But with the schedule that the Kings have, with the games that De'Aaron's looking like he's going to be out, you have got to make a run because you've only got a handful of games in there that are, what I would consider against the upper echelon teams in the league. So, yeah, we've talked about the 2 Houston games. Then you got Portland, you've got Oklahoma City. That's going to be a tough one. SGA, who's going to guard SGA? That's going to be hard for the Kings, but winnable. It's still winnable. That's the thing. I don't look at it and say automatic loss. Then you've got Cleveland, you got the Lakers, you got the Mavericks, and then you've got 2 games with New Orleans. So with that sample size, I think it was about 8 games. You've got to have the first. Those got to be locked in stone. And I also want to see what Mike Brown does tonight with the rotation. It was a little bit, he was feeling it out, and the bench picked up the Kings really well in the last game against the Warriors in the first half. But I want to see what that bench rotation is going to be like without Fox. Do we get any more consistency to it? Sasha, he didn't play as much as he normally does. I know he was struggling with his shot. Maybe that has something to do with the Warriors and the guarding, but I don't think it does because Sasha got some decent minutes against the Warriors in his first home action at Golden One Center, and he came out firing and playing well. But Colby Jones, how's he going to factor into things? He got, I don't have the numbers. 17 minutes. He had 17 minutes last game. I would expect that number to go way up tonight. I think Colby's got to be probably in the 20 to 23 range because he is playing at both ends pretty well, and he has not been shy. He should have had a charge, which I'm surprised Mike Brown did not challenge, considering that Draymond Green had one reversed where he was not all the way set. And it was a similar kind of play. Chris Duarte, what's he going to get tonight? He only got 7 minutes last game. So does that mean his role is diminished? And we're talking in a perfect world where there's not necessarily foul trouble. But then Malik Monk, 25 minutes. Malik's got to have more than 25 minutes. Let me know if you agree with that or not. And his production's got to be much better. He's got to have more than 16 points in 25 minutes. So keep the comments coming. I am going to keep getting into these. Oh, we got a college question. How are the Aztecs looking this year? Jason, the Aztecs are looking like the Aztecs. I think they're like 19th in the preseason AP poll. And granted, they made a run last year, but that's what March Madness is about. It's about which teams get hot at the right time. But they'll win the Mountain West. There's no doubt about that. Now, do they make a deep run into the tournament? We'll see. They do return some guys. I think they have 2 or 3 returns from last year's team in the starting 5. So I think they'll have a solid season. And if they get the right matchups in the NCAA tournament, anything could happen. I mean, but with the preseason rankings, those are always so just difficult and really hard to, lean on because the teams haven't played. I really like to see the first few weeks of the season. Then you get into like the Maui Invitational where you see some good matchups. Speaking of the Maui Invitational, will they do something for Maui this year? I really hope they do. I'm not sure it's possible to have it at the Lahaina Civic Center because of the fires, but I would like to see some type of tournament with the proceeds going to Maui. That would be awesome. But yeah, you see good matchups there, and then you start to get a taste of who's going to be good for the season. And then before you know it, league play starts. So, and then switching gears, NFL. Can you believe we're already week 9, week 10? This is crazy. The NFL season flies by so quick. So very cool. Let's see. Dab, he is saying Davion Mitchell over under 9.5 points. What do you take? I've got to take the over. If Davion is not in double digits, this team's not winning. There's just no other way to put it because there's not enough backup at that position to get the points somewhere else. Now, if Davion has 20 assists, then okay, maybe he's under, but he's got to be over. And I don't think over is asking too much of Davion. I mean, if I'm the Rockets, I'm doing exactly what the Warriors did last game. I am going under ball screens. So if you're Mike Brown, that's a good way to get Davion going early. Do a couple ball screens with Sabonis. Let him get his feet set because they're going to let him shoot that 3 ball to start the game. Just watch. He's more than capable of knocking down a few of them. And I don't know if it's a mental block with Davion or what it is, but it seems like when Fox is there and the Kings have everybody at their disposal, sometimes you guys remember if you've played organized sports, like you're worried about getting pulled out sometimes. Oh, if I mess this up, coach is going to put my backup in or whatever. I feel like there's a little bit of that with Davion sometimes, right? He feels like he's on a tight leash, and obviously he's not. He's usually the first guy off the bench. So when Fox is out, Davion knows he's getting minutes. He's going to get major minutes. In fact, what did he play? He played 30 minutes against the Warriors. So, hit a couple threes, get that going, open things up for other people. So I'm going over right there if we are looking at a Kings win. Ash is with me. She is saying over as well. Let's see. Can you imagine our reaction after finding out here you're going to Sacktown? Imagine our reaction after finding out yes. You were talking about Philip. I bet you were really excited. We need to have you on the show sometime. Why don't you break down our Serbian players? Because I'm sure you have watched him a lot more than Grant and I have, because he was like the second or third option for the Serbian national team, and he played good basketball. So that's really cool. For whatever reason, the Kings really do have that long lineage with players from Serbia. It's almost like they're home away from home for guys that are going to be in the NBA. So I think that is really cool. Ash, it is not a game. Those, I believe, are Tuesday, Fridays. So the Kings will have to wait till next week for their Sea Dogs saying we need more out of Duarte tonight. You do need a little bit more out of Duarte. The way I look at it, this team doesn't know outside of Sabonis and Monk where it's going to come from. And maybe you can make that argument about Harrison Barnes, where it's going to come from tonight. Keegan Murray has been too up and down. Grant did a rant on it. He's talking about consistency. I'm not necessarily 100% with Grant. I think Keegan has been more consistent than he was at the beginning of last year. But the problem is the expectations for Keegan this year are so much larger. So you're going to be looking at what he's doing under a microscope. So tell you what, we throw Keegan's name in there, then we don't know who it's coming from after that. Is it going to be Duarte? Is it going to be Davion? Is it going to be Kevin Huerter? And I don't think the Kings know either. So that's you put any name that's going to get some minutes up tonight, I'm going to say the same thing. You're going to need to get more out of them. So, yeah, Sea-Dog confirming Tuesdays and Fridays for the NBA Cup. Heard good things about Phillips. We can always use a big that can shoot. Hopefully he gets some play time. Yeah, they looked pretty locked in with what they have right now, speaking of the Kings, at the big man position. But any five that can stretch the floor, that's going to be a plus. And, one of the questions that Grant and I got a lot of in the offseason, and it's a good question for Jerry Reynolds too, is could Sabonis, we talk about Keegan Murray, right? And natural position likely being a three. If Sabonis has a stretch five out there with him, could Sabonis play the four? And I think the question is yes. So is Philip that type of stretch five? And please, guys, do not, guys and gals, get your expectations up. Like this guy's going to step in and be a major factor to what the Kings do. But theoretically, if you had a five that plays the style that Philip can play, can stretch the floor, shoot the ball, then that opens things up for Sabonis to move over to the four at times. at times. So, he could be a definite asset to the Kings this season. He'll be here in Sacramento for a couple of weeks, and the Kings will decide what to do with him, whether to keep him on the roster as the 15th guy or to send him to Stockton. So, one place, if you're in Stockton, that you should immediately leave and go to is Bennett's West Side Grill in Rockland. That's Bennett's new location. We can't say enough about it. Then Brian Bennett did such an excellent job with this location, and it's got all of the things you think about when you think about Bennett's. Just the prime cuts of steak, the excellent seafood, great burgers, amazing wine list, really cool bar and happy hour. And also a beautiful patio. And then, hey, if you want to have a gathering at Bennett's, not a problem. They've got really, really cool private dining rooms that have views of the TV, views of the entire restaurant, and the food's no different when you're dining in the private room. So go check out Bennett's. We promise you will not be disappointed. Don't forget about their weekend brunch as well. One of my favorites. I do not drink, but my wife does really enjoy the mimosas there on the weekend with their brunch specials. So go check out Bennett's West Side Grill. That location in Rockland, second location in Roseville, and third location off of Howe and Fair Oaks. Tell them you heard about them here on If You Don't Like That. So I've been really happy as well with the reaction about people that have been to Bennett so far this season or last season and their reaction to it. And I always like hearing about new things that people try. Sometimes when you go to a good restaurant, you just stick to the 2 or 3 things that you know. We've never had any issues when we try something new. So go give Bennett's a try when you have a few minutes. All right, let's get back to some of the comments. Love these. Let's see. You guys are having some internal conversations. We've got the show within the show going, which is great. Carf, I'm expecting a bounce back game for Sasha. Yeah, I would hope so. I mean, again, Sasha, he's pretty poised for it being his first year in the NBA because that comes with his pedigree. He's 29. He's the EuroLeague MVP. I think for Sasha, what I've noticed when he does not hesitate, he usually makes his shots, specifically his threes. When he hesitates a little bit, that's when he misses. So I would like him to be a little bit more confident in his shot and not hesitate because the way that he strokes the leather, there's always going to be a green light for Sasha to shoot that ball. Defense has been surprisingly good for Sasha. That has been a surprise because defense would be the concern for somebody like him coming into the NBA. But I want to see him come out, hit a 3, and just get going. And I also, I look at Sasha. He doesn't back down from physicality, right? Chris Duarte does not back down from physicality. Harrison Barnes does not back down. Sabonis does not back down. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because a lot of these guys on the Rockets, they're physical players. That's the game they like to play. They want to get up here in your head. And for the most part, I think the Kings are really good about staying even keeled and not letting that kind of creep in and not letting them occupy that space in your head because then you're playing their game. So if they can come out and Sasha is a little bit tougher, does not hesitate, I think a bounce back game is very much in order for sure. C-Dog, he'd like to see Jordan Ford play a couple minutes tonight. I'm not so sure, C-Dog. First off, Jordan can score the ball, but he's only done it in Stockton. He's only done it in the preseason. So I'm not sure if tonight's one of those games I'm running Jordan Ford out there, especially if I'm getting production from the 3 guys we talked about in Malik Monk, in Davion Mitchell, in Chris Duarte, in Colby Jones. I'm not going to rock the ship. But now if somebody gets into foul trouble, I'm not opposed to it. But it would have to be a certain circumstance. I mean, The circumstance I would not want to see is where everybody's playing bad. And you know what Mike Brown will do? He will yank that entire unit right off the floor. So if it's something like that, then the Kings are going to be in trouble, and it's going to be a tough way for Jordan Ford to get his first minutes in the NBA. But yeah, could be. We will see. Yeah, you guys want to start putting your score predictions up. Dog's gone, or Jay, excuse me. What's up, Jay? Tell Kathy hi as well. Jay, 120-104 Kings. I've noticed a lot of people in the pregame and at halftime are always going Kings. And that includes me. I've been going Kings. It's okay to go against the Kings if you think they're going to lose. But I also like the confidence in your team. Here we go. Rich went to Bennett last weekend. Redfish was awesome. Yeah, dude, they fit so much flavor into that spinach that comes on the side of the redfish. So glad you made it out, Rich. Let's see. Give those extra minutes to Colby. There you go. See, I think there's a lot of love here for Colby. And I think a lot of people liked how he played. 14 points for Red Velvet. All right. Yeah, I would like to see more than that. I think so. Okay, you look at Van Vliet. That's going to be the Davion matchup right there. It's going to get some Malik Monk. Now, what you're going to get is some crossover there too. You're going to get Dylan Brooks kind of jumping around. You might see Dylan on Keegan at times. You might see Dylan on Monk. That one's going to be the X factor. And if he's not on Kevin, I think that opens Kevin up a little bit more to shoot the ball and get looks that he wants. And then also don't discount the cutting. I think the cutting's really important with Fox out, because what was opening things up for everybody else before Fox got hurt was Fox's ability to get to the rim at will. Kings don't have a guy like that. And I include Monk in that conversation. Monk is not getting to the rim at will, but they are able to play the defenders the opposite way. When defenders are over defending, you got to cut back door. And I've really liked when the Kings have done that. They've sent Sasha back door. They've sent Herter back door. And a lot of that chemistry when it comes to playing that style of basketball and those kind of cuts is knowing what your teammates are going to do. And guessing the choice that they're going to make. And I think the Kings have played together long enough that they know how to do that. And they know when the right time to cut is and when the wrong time to cut is. But if we get guys cutting, then that does the same thing as it would have done had Fox been in the game and getting to the rim. It opens up the outside. It makes the defenders play honest defense instead of fake hustling and flying by. So if that happens and Kevin's mixing those things in, give him 20. I think Kevin is easily capable of 20. We've seen 30-point games. We know the 40-point game was kind of escaping him last year. He just couldn't get to that number. But, Kevin knows, and again, a little weight off his back. The fact that Fox is out, Kevin's going to get big minutes. So you're not worried about getting pulled out like you would be if you had a full team. C-Dog saying Kings 117, 112. Carf is saying Kings 129, 111. Nice. Let's see. Something about homers. Let's see what Dab has. Homers never go against the grain. Yeah. Oh, you're calling our fans? Oh, come on, Dab. It's not necessarily about being a homer, Dab. I mean, there's some positivity there. You're trying to put good things into the energy. Come on, man. Anyways, guys, we are getting closer and closer to tip off. I know Katie, and I'm guessing tonight is Kyle Draper. They are probably getting ready to do their warm open, so we will get ready to hop off. But hey, just as a reminder, please make sure you come back at halftime. The one and only Jerry Reynolds will be here. In fact, I was talking to Jerry before I came on the air, trying to get him set up. He is on location. So as soon as I end this show, I'm going to get back on the phone with him. So I will work my tail off to make sure we got Jerry at the half. And Grant will be here as well. Grant and I wrap up the game. So appreciate y'all showing up tonight. Again, tell a friend about the show. If you haven't already, subscribe, give us a thumbs up. We will be here for the rest of the night for all of your Kings information and action. This has been the pregame show on If You Don't Like That. Go Kings, light the beam. See you guys at halftime with Jerry Reynolds